Speaking of a female, in the role you're playing, you're carrying a lot of emotional weight for the world and as a female. How are you processing that to bring it out into the character?
The balance of having to be a female in this very masculine environment, it's not foreign to her to begin with, so it's not a case of like, ooh, it's so testosterone driven. All of that personal stuff that usually prickly human friction that one can feel, or personal emotional stuff. When the enormity of a situation like this occurs, one has to imagine that a lot of that stuff gets put on the back burner. That really, that the task at hand to show up with such a tidal wave behind you, the American government, the knowledge that she has that a certain amount of the population has already been struck, but she doesn't know until 4 months in the severity of the issue, and that's when the Russians come in. And so there is that hounds at the heel tidal wave against her that I think that if she lets her emotions come to the forefront, or if that takes over at any point, that she would crack and wouldn't be able to stand up and be who she is in front of Captain Chandler and the rest of the ship. And I think that's the reason why everyone's like, well, she's so aloof and she's so self-contained and she's so standoffish. She's carrying the greatest Fabergé egg that the planet or any human being has ever come across ever, and is trying to make sure that it doesn't break and that she preserve whatever there is to preserve. And so I think that being a man or a woman doesn't really factor at this point. She's a human being who has a certain amount of knowledge, and she's been entrusted by the US government and the Prime Minister, the President, with this just overwhelmingly ridiculous task. It's a TV world, it's not a film world, so you have to gauge the level of emotion you give every week, because we have Michael Bay on the one hand bringing his bombastic qualities and everything that he does as Michael Bay, which is already very sort of big and broad for television. So with the characters, I think it's really important to tread the line and make sure that you're bringing as much realism as possible. And I don't know, I think that some people would go to bits and lose it, but I think that in order to do what one has to do, I think one's survival and gut is so incredibly strong. I think we're much stronger than we think we are. And so that's the choice that I have made, is to get everyone on board, and this is the direction we need to go. Personal stuff put aside, we have to get on with the task at hand.